Hello everyone and welcome to Kryptonite, the crypto investor channel. I'm Boris, so let's dive in. I'm with Colton today. Hello Colton.
Hey Boris, welcome back to the Kryptonite channel, everyone. Let's dive right in. Today we'll be talking about Ledger. So my first question for you today, Boris, is what is Ledger, and can you explain, what is a hot wallet as well?
Sure. So Ledger is really a cold wallet, and what that means is that the actual keys, they are stored on a hardware wallet. So they are more secure than whenever you have a hot wallet. A hot wallet would be Trust, for instance, or Exodus, and those are hot wallet, meaning that there is no hardware that is storing the keys offline. Everything is done online, so there's more danger. First of all, nothing is bulletproof and unbreakable. There's always a risk with anything, but with a cold wallet, it makes it a lot harder because the keys, everything needs to go through that little hardware wallet, which is basically a little gizmo that has two buttons. And whenever you do operations, you do transactions on anything, you have to have that little hardware to approve transactions and to do different things. So it's an extra layer of security. So first of all, hot wallets are fairly secured. Some of them have had some mishaps. We've seen with Atomic and a few others, but cold wallet adds some extra layer of security. So if you do hold, some substantial number of crypto, that's definitely something you want to be looking at to make it more secured over time.
Yes, sir, that makes sense, Boris. Now, what about at the end of the day, the main question is how secure is Ledger compared to other, wallets out there, but just in general, we've heard stories, we've seen things. Really, what is the security model behind Ledger?
So the hardware itself is very secured because different companies have tried to break the security, and it's pretty much military grade as far as the hardware itself. But it still relies on those 24 words that make up the seed phrase of your wallet. And unfortunately, if those seed phrases are compromised and someone discovers them, all they have to do is buy a ledger key, set them up, onto that new hardware wallet, and they will be able to steal your money. So you got to be extremely careful with the seed phrase. Now, there's an extra security that maybe some of you might not be familiar with, is you can have a passphrase on the top of the seed phrase whenever you use Ledger. And that passphrase is also, if you set it up, all the wallets that would be behind that passphrase the passphrase is also required whenever you're doing any transactions, whether you're sending coins or you are signing a contract or anything. So if you do lose your seed phrase or someone was able to manage to steal it, if you also have set up the passphrase, that also adds one more layer of security. That passphrase can be pretty long, and it can be a bunch of lower characters, capital letters, numbers, special characters, and you can make it pretty long. So makes it very, very hard to break. So you have basically two extra layers of security compared to a hot wallet. The seed phrase that's on the hardware wallet, and then the passphrase that is also on your ledger key that also protects the wallet. So overall, it is a lot more secure than a hot wallet, but like I said, nothing is ever bulletproof. Storing your seed phrase should be done offline. And we'll see at the end, they have a few accessories that they sell to make sure that you don't lose your seed phrase, because some people put their seed phrase on a piece of paper And of course, there's always the danger of fire or flood, and then the paper gets destroyed, and you have lost your seed phrase.
Yes, sir. Now, since we're on the topic of security and this kind of goes hand in hand, I'm thinking worst case scenario here, Boris. With the banks, at least you have some type of insurance. With Ledger, do they offer any type of insurance, or is there anything there to help, ease your mind with a little bit of protection, added protection, just besides, the seat phrase and all that type of stuff that they offer?
According to Ledger, so they said they have contracted an crime insurance policy for $150 million. Now, obviously, there are lots of people storing their cryptos on Ledger, and I don't think that $150 million would even start to cover, if everybody lost everything on Ledger. But as we saw, most of the time, whenever there is a hack or whenever there is money being stolen by hackers on different protocols or different keys or whatever, there is always a limit, because obviously, most people aren't just going to let themselves being robbed blind. So they are either going to stop the whole thing and they're going to try to recover the funds, or they are going to block the bridge or the protocol that's been hacked. So 150 million should most likely cover most of the attacks, because most of the attacks are rarely passing the 100 million mark. I mean, there are some that do, but they're pretty rare. So 150 million should really cover a lot of stuff. And basically having that extra insurance layer, it does not exist on some of the other wallets, or at least they didn't communicate on it, if they have insurance or not. So having a $150 million insurance definitely helps you feel a little bit better that in case of an attack, and let's say some wallets get attacked, they find a weakness in some of the products for Ledger, whatever, and 20 millions gets stolen, technically everybody should be reimbursed using that insurance policy. So that's something that also sets them slightly apart from the others. And that policy has been in place for 2 years now.
Do you have to do anything to, make that policy valid, or does that just come standard when you get, an accessory from Ledger, Boris?
No, they said that it covers Ledger as a whole, and
Okay.
if any clients get, something stolen from them. Now, I am not sure that it says the coverage includes theft scenarios like physical breach, meaning if somebody found a way to break into the Ledger key, which most likely, first of all, you need the physical key, but also master seed transmission and insider theft, meaning that if someone at Ledger was actually doing it on purpose to put some kind of a malware or virus or whatever to try to steal people's keys, that would be covered as well. I don't think it will cover if someone just wrote on a piece of paper their seed phrase, put it on their desk, and then they get a break-in and somebody stole that seed phrase and stole their money. I seriously doubt that the insurance company would cover that, because they'll probably say that was negligence. You didn't really took any serious step to protect that seed phrase, and in that case, it would probably not work.
Yeah, so it's a case-by-case scenario. That makes sense. So what about the different options that they offer, Boris? I'm not too familiar with Ledger. I know they offered, different type of keys, hardware wallets, etc. Can you kind of explain the difference between, the Nano, the X, the family packaging, all that different type of assets that they offer? And then I know we'll talk about the accessories, but let's actually talk about the actual hardware wallets right now.
Sure. So mainly currently they have two models, the Nano S Plus and then the Nano X. And really the difference is mainly that the Nano S Plus has less storage capacity. So if you only use a few things, like let's say you're doing some ERC20 tokens, some Bitcoin and some XRP, you can store a few different types of blockchain on that key, but eventually you will run out. So if you have like 20 different blockchains that you're using, the Nano S Plus is not really for you. It's gonna run out of space. But if you're only doing a few, then you can save some money by using the Nano S Plus. The Nano X really can store more. So if you have more blockchains, let's say you're also doing Avalanche and you're doing VeChain and you're doing whatever, a bunch of different ones, then you can store those on the Nano X. You can store more things. Also, it has Bluetooth connectivity, so you don't have to use the cable every time you want to use the software called Ledger Live. The difference also between the two is only Nano X is compatible with iOS, Mac, Linux, and Windows. The Nano S is only compatible with pretty much Android, Mac OS, and Windows. So if you're using an iOS, pretty much an iPhone, and Linux, you need a Nano X model to do this. They both cover lots of cryptocurrencies, about 5,000 each. And I've tried also to compare. I also got a Tezos, to compare with it, the latest model. And unfortunately, Tezos, it's not bad technology, and I know people say, yeah, they're open source and it's better, etc. But the problem of Tezos versus Ledger is that they cover a lot less blockchains. So there are lots of blockchains that are not available, unfortunately, on Tezos. So that's the one thing that I think Ledger is much easier to use, especially if you're doing a lot of different blockchain, lots of different projects. Last, they announced that they're going to do Ledger Stacks, which is pretty much like a little like a mini iPhone type thing, where it has a real screen and it's much user friendly. Is really, I would say, the big difference. It is wireless charging, etc. So they all do NFTs, by the way, so you can store NFTs on all of the devices. But really, it's a touch screen, and that's much nicer, because the one thing when you use a Ledger Nano S Plus or a Nano X, it's basically two buttons. So to type a password, to type a PIN code, to type anything, or to accept things, I mean, basically, it's a lot of little clicks, and it's not as user-friendly as using an actual app or using a mobile device. So I think that Ledger Stacks is going to pretty much solve that problem.
Yes, sir. Now, quick question here, Boris. I know this would probably be in the comments, but realistically, is there, at the end of the day, is there a version better for a beginner, an intermediate, crypto person than what about, an experienced crypto person? Does it matter, or can anyone use all three of these, Boris? Is there a better reason to use one or the other is essentially what I'm asking.
The stacks will definitely be easier because it is all touch screen. I have to admit that setting up a cold wallet, it's not very hard, but it is not super user-friendly either. Now, the Ledger app called Ledger Live, it's actually relatively friendly to use. It's not too bad, but setting everything up, transferring your coins, setting up new wallets, adding the apps that you need for the blockchains for them to work, etc. I mean, to be purely objective, if you know your way around computers fairly well, you shouldn't have really any problems. If you're talking about, some people that are not as comfortable with computers and everything, they might find it a little bit challenging. I mean, obviously, a Trust Wallet is much easier to use than Ledger. So overall, you're going to need to know a little bit your way around computers, setting the whole thing up. After a while, you'll definitely get more comfortable with it. Now, the good news is there are lots of videos out there on YouTube that you can watch that teaches you how to use Ledger Live, and how to use your keys. But it is not super friendly. Like we're talking about have some challenges with computers. They definitely not going to think that this is very user friendly. That's why I think Ledger Stacks might be a good step forward to make things a lot easier for those people.
Yes, sir. That makes sense. Now, my last question for you today, Boris, is about the accessories. Or, sorry, about the bundles and packs and the accessories. Realistically, with the accessories, I'm not too familiar. Do the accessories bring value, or are they adding, like a case around, the wall, the USB, so it doesn't get broken? And then, of course, what do the packs offer, and why would you need a family pack at the end of the day?
Well, the family packs, it's mainly so you have backups so that you can maybe keep a key at home and then maybe another key maybe in a bank safe or maybe in another house that you have or something like that. So in case of a fire or flood in your first house, maybe the key you have a second key at a second location. So that's why they're selling those family packs, which is okay, if you want to do backups and make sure that you always have a key that's working, not a bad idea. The accessories, mainly the one that I think are the most interesting are those steel capsules or the billfold or the crypto tag Zeus. Those are mainly to do a actual backup of your seed phrase on either titanium or metal, steel, so that in case of a flood or fire, they don't get destroyed as opposed to you saving your seed phrase on paper. So that is definitely something to think about. And once again, the more money you have in play, obviously the more you want to be secured. So those accessories, they are kind of interesting, to back up your seed phrase in a more secured manner. Now, once again, if somebody finds that capsule or that device, where everything is backed up, that can be dangerous. So you got to be a little creative on where you put that thing. Where do you
Store it, essentially.
where do you hide it?
Yeah.
And it's always the same problem as well, which Ledger came up with that thing with backup of your seed phrase, which created a major backlash on the Twitter and all over the internet, was because they're like, how come you can back up our seed phrase? I thought we were the only one to have it. You have to remember that they cannot get it from your device. You have to agree. You have to send that seed phrase. It'll get encrypted, split in three with three different providers. Now, some people, rightfully so, are saying like, this is very dangerous. It shouldn't be allowed. At the same time, there's also the people that are afraid, like, what if something happens to me and then my family has no backup of anything and they cannot find the seed phrase, they cannot find, they find the key, but they don't know how to get back in, and money will get lost. And I'm sure already it's happened multiple times, somebody disappearing and no one can get back in, and all those cryptos are lost forever. It's going to be a big debate over the coming month and probably year or two, where people are going to be like, okay, it needs to be secured, but it needs to be backed up as well. Because if we have no backup and we lose everything, that's going to be a huge problem. So Ledger isn't perfect, neither is Tezos, neither is any of the cold wallets out there. By the way, there are lots of other cold wallets out there. There's EliPal, there's a whole slew of them. Make sure you always buy from the manufacturer. Don't ever buy your Ledger or Tezos keys, on something that is not secured. Even Amazon, I would not buy there because you don't know if it was a key that was maybe tampered with or something. So the best is to buy directly from the manufacturer, whether you go with Tezos, Ledger, or any of the others. But security is great and you need to secure as much as you can, but think also what happens to me if I disappear, I die in a car accident tomorrow, how my kids, my wife, whoever, is going to be able to get to those cryptos. What do I have in place to make sure that they are able to recover all that stuff? Because you don't want them to be, losing all that money you set aside. So definitely hot wallets might be okay for low numbers, like keeping a few cryptos on there so that it's easy to put back on an exchange if you want to quickly sell them or whatever. Or if you're on a super tiny budget and anyway you only have a few $100 worth of cryptos and it might not be worth spending the money on a cold wallet. But if you are holding larger amounts, then you need to have a plan in place so that it's more secured, and also a plan in place of how am I going to pass on that information so that my kids, my wife can actually get to those cryptos if I disappear all of a sudden. So that's it for today. I hope this is helpful. And for those who thought that, Ledger, it's over, we need to get to other products, I still think it's one of the better ones out there. I mean, there are other possibilities. Another good thing to do sometimes might be to put it on a few different ledger keys, on a few different technology keys. So you could have a Tezos, you could have an EliPal, you could have a ledger key, and maybe you divide it among those three, or even more if you really have quite a bit of cryptos. So at least it makes it more difficult. If at least one of the wallets gets compromised for whatever reason, you still have 2 or 3 other wallets. And if you have spread your money around, then at least you might have lost maybe a quarter of your cryptos, but not all of your cryptos. So that's another thing to think about, food for thoughts, to spread it among a few different keys. Thank you, Colton. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to see you on the next Kryptonite video. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. And if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.